Welcome everyone, you are listening to Dear Sweet and Low. I'm Coach Dev.
And I'm Low.
Together we help you decode the dating game, unlock those mysteries toward personal gratification, satisfaction, and fun. Don't forget the fun. Fun is very important. Speaking of fun, last episode we did the 7 male archetypes. I don't know if I can name them all. Can you name them all? Okay, I'm going to try. Alpha, beta, sigma, zeta, delta, gamma, sigma, and omega.
Yeah, correct.
And as promised, we're going to dive into the opposite spectrum, which are the female archetypes.
Which I have no idea about.
You do. You know a lot more than you think you do. Everybody knows a lot more than they think they do when it comes to archetypes because it's so embedded in our history, in our programming, and our mythology. So we didn't go into the history of where these terms came from, but at least in the female archetypes, let's just say the most pertinent psychotherapy terminology comes from Carl Jung, who studied under Sigmund Freud, if you're familiar with the superego, the id, the such and such. We're not getting into that. We're just getting into the archetypes for the purpose of understanding who you want to attract and why you want to attract them. Case in point, I can't tell you how many clients come to me, male clients, and they specifically say, I want to attract a dominant/alpha female. And I'm like, oh, cool, that's awesome. So you want to be submissive. Yeah.
I don't know any guy that want that, but...
Exactly, because like the males, like I don't want 100% pure alpha. That's too intense all the time. That's great for a boss, but somewhere there's got to be an off switch. And as we covered, most people have a mix of personalities. They have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and that makes a balanced, well-rounded person. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be a lot of work. It would be a lot of juggling to maintain a pure alpha energy or a pure beta energy. Did I name beta? I don't think I did.
You did name beta.
Don't. Yeah. So I heard it. You were like, yeah, I know.
I think you did. I think you said beta, yeah.
I slipped right by it because that one is just that's the nice guy one, the one that everybody loves to hate, but like the tortoise and the hare, he's always the one who comes in and saves the day at the last. Are you ready to get an education on the archetype?
I'm ready.
And you're going to educate me. Like this is a two-way street. Mm-hmm. Nothing happens here without it being a conversation, willing and open and wanting to know his take on this. Because I love the male perspective on the different archetypes. I'm going to probably ask you some personal questions too. Okay. Archetype number 1 is called the caregiver. She is the mother, the loving, receptive, giving. She's always wanting to hug you, always wanting to feed you. She's somebody who's like, oh, I'm sad. I'm going to go talk to this woman. And she wants to take care of everyone. So she's sort of the matriarch, but she's not the loud and outspoken one. But everyone knows, like, once she comes into a room, the energy settles and now everybody feels included. Mm-hmm. Like, that is your typical caregiver. Mm-hmm. The cons of that...
I can already feel the cons. I understand the cons of those people.
I love a good caregiver woman. I love them. But they tend to be people pleasers. They don't make time for themselves. They don't like it. They get to the point where they let everybody make their decisions for them, almost, to the point where they feel exhausted and run down. They're the real mothering type. It's like, if my kids, my tribe, doesn't succeed, then I've become a failure. Versus a more holistically healthy approach, meaning like, if I'm not okay, my tribe is not okay. Give me a person in pop culture right now. It could be a singer, an actor, anybody to you in mainstream media that comes across as motherly influence. Caregiver stuff.
Somebody that's a caregiver.
The mom energy. She got mom energy all day. I want to say like more Aretha Franklin, but she's too boss. She's too diva.
Caregiver. Yes.
I have one. This is like the only one that I could come up with. And I thought about this and didn't look up on the internet because that's cheating to me. But so Harry Potter, we both read them as kids.
I saw the movie. I didn't read.
Yes. Well, it doesn't matter. But who did? Like some people did, and then it was like, give me the movies. Mrs. Weasley. She was the redhead. She was Harry. She was loving to everyone. She took care of everybody. She was deep down the most loving, kind, generous mother spirit. But if you crossed her, if you threatened her children, she was going to crush you. Like, no thought to it. I'll put myself in front of the bus if it means saving my kids. That's the real caregiver energy. She's my number one. If you guys have ones that you're just like, oh, I got this, the perfect caregiver energy. Like I have friends who I could name right now who are caregivers, but we won't. But if you know somebody from pop culture, they don't get a lot of radio play. They don't get a lot of film time because they're not exciting.
Yeah, they don't like to be the center of attention, you know?
Right.
They just care about everybody else, how everybody else is doing.
Yes. Okay, onward. This one, I'm sure you have lots of love for. Lots of love for, considering you very much are this personality too.
Oh.
This is the warrior woman.
The warrior woman.
Yes.
Okay. Elaborate.
All right, okay. Woman. Strong, fiercely independent. She doesn't see males as something she should cower to or bow down to. She sees them as a challenge. Whereas most of the female population that shies away. You know, they'll do something light like yoga or step class or kickboxing. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. But I'm saying the warrior is not only can I go head to head with a male, but I bet you I can beat him under certain circumstances. Okay. They're the ones who you want going into a war zone. They're the ones you want. They're very level-headed, very pragmatic. They make very quick decisions and don't like to be second-guessed. They have all the attributes of an alpha. But they also have their cons. Like, with all the cons, a female like this is so committed to being powerful and strong and a source of strength, it's very hard for them to be vulnerable. Ideally, you want a dominant woman to pair with an equally dominant man, because with him, she can be more vulnerable, she can be softer, she can be more submissive, and that's a good balance for her. So a lot of women go out into the world and they feel like they have to take charge of their families, their careers, their everything, this whole idea that you can have it all, which is great and appropriate given our time, but it doesn't leave a lot of room where you can let other people in your team take care of you. And warrior women have the hardest time with that. They usually have to be knocked down pretty significantly to know and understand that love and life is not about conquering, being so strong all the time in every situation that no one can ever question your validity. Tricky, very tricky. I think when it comes to finding examples of those people, you've known people like that. Yeah, definitely. They're the ones, like, you see them in the gym probably more than you're in the gym. Like, every time you go to the gym, oh, there she is.
You always give you that mean look.
Dang, smile. You get a smile back?
Yes, they are that serious, that intense.
Yeah.
Usually not to cover anything up. They're really probably very kind inside, but they're so focused that doesn't come across. Or they might have to prove a lot of things to a lot of males who are just like, oh, you're just a girl. You can't do this kind of thing, which they get a lot of. So, some people would hate that. They're inspired by that kind of pushback, by that kind of resistance. They're like, oh yeah, let's go. Like, that turns them on. I can't think of specifically. There's a friend of mine who's a female cop. She's so warrior woman, to the point where it's very hard for her to actually be vulnerable, unless it's around other warrior women. So they gravitate toward that kind of tribe. But anyone in pop culture, I'm going to have to say Wonder Woman. To me, and I'll be honest, I didn't see that movie.
I saw the movie.
Did you like the movie?
I like the movie.
Do you like her?
Her?
Yeah.
I like her.
I have an issue with females who don't look as strong as they should for the task that they do. I know she had special powers. I know that's not fair. I know I'm going to get so much hate over that. But I'm fine with it. Like, if you were lifting your own body weight as a female, who's naturally my bottom half is stronger than my top half. Mm-hmm. So always it's being able to do a lot of things like pull-ups and push-ups and climbing ropes and stuff. All the things that a warrior woman should do, you're going to be stronger and buffer and generally bigger than a lot of other females.
Yeah. And
that's not really reflected in comics and what. I mean, old-time comics, yeah, they had some. Like, I want a Valkyrie to look like a Valkyrie.
Well, I know you said Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
But like, she gave me the vibe. She's not a warrior woman, but she's a loving, caring woman playing an acting role as a warrior woman.
I see.
She's the actor though. You know, she's playing that.
Yes.
That's how they act. But sometimes, like when an actor, I think too deep into it. When an actor is playing a role,
yes,
I can feel their vibe that they're not really that in real life. You know what I'm trying to say?
That. Yes, I do. She would make as an actress, like her person, I think she would be a great femme fatale. Like I could see her as a villain all day long.
Yeah.
So it's one of the reasons I didn't watch Wonder Woman, because I was just like, I don't get that. Now, the original Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, had much more playful warrior energy to me. And that was through watching interviews, through watching all of her shows. It's an interesting juxtaposition from what is perceived to be strong and what is actually strong. But you guys don't need to know that. It's we're getting real deep on this subject simply because you get to experience different people in different ways.
So would Scarlett Johansson be like a warrior woman?
I think so.
Yeah.
And this is included in as a person too, because it's so would Charlize Theron. She strikes me as somebody who's not going to stop just because somebody's telling her not to. If anything, it's going to make her push harder, reach harder. Plus, she's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it helps to use beauty as a tool. Speaking of, this is my favorite archetype, and that probably says a lot about me. I think deep down, it's the favorite archetype of most men. Yeah, the seductress. She of the Marilyn Monroe quality, snatched waist.
She's gonna cheat on you.
Love it. Okay. we jumped right into that, but I love that you picked up on that. Considering a part of her personality is that she falls in love easily and just as easily falls out of love. So this is a person who is spontaneous, lives in the moment. Yes, that makes her chemistry and her sexual appeal that much more, like we got to chase that. We got to get that. She's the ultimate. She's Aphrodite in waiting. She's Venus, the goddess of love and sensuality. So of course we want to be close to that. But because her personality is so, I want to live in the moment, she does not think ahead to the consequences. So, yeah, you can have a wild ride, but like most wild horses, they don't want to be tamed or broken, and they can't be. So they're going to end up ditching. That's not to say that you can't have that. Like, I definitely believe that every woman has a slice of seductress in her. But they have to be around the right person. They have to feel that chemistry where that part of their goddess nature wakes up and comes to attention. It could happen. Like, have you been around a female who you could see her in different circumstances? And she's cool, she's fine. But once she's with a certain kind of person, something about her just comes alive. It's like the chemistry sparked a fire within her, and suddenly she's sex appeal on a stick. Maybe not a stick. No, I didn't mean it like that. In a certain kind of way.
Yeah, the seductive woman is not my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Why not?
You can tell me if you don't. I want details. Details are my jam.
because I said earlier, right? 10 years pass, they might fall out of love with you and be like,
Okay.
I'm bored, or they might get easily influenced by their friends, you know?
Very
Like,
true.
you know, he's not doing this, you should leave him, you know? Then they get persuaded easily compared
Love it.
to the other ones.
I love that. I agree with that. So yeah, if you're chasing after somebody who's primarily seductress and that's their life's goal, you might come at the top of their priority list for a little while, but don't expect to be there full time. Yes. Other than Marilyn Monroe, who would you say in popular culture has seductress energy?
I don't know if you know her, Ariana Grande.
Yeah, I know her. I wasn't born under a rock. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know. Listen,
I don't keep up with these with celebrities, so I don't really know them too much.
Mostly because my daughter, who's 22, she made me. It was like that and SpongeBob, and I'm just like, well, I'm a well-rounded person now. So yes, Ariana Grande does. Yeah.
Kim Kardashian.
Yep. Even though I think she's transitioning, like she's that person to me who started off that way because she had the assets to pull it off. But I don't think deep down she wants to be that way.
Yeah.
Like I think she wants to be actually what our next archetype is. So we'll get into that one. But those are good notes. The next one, who Kim K is turning out to be the boss. This is the CEO, the organizer, the commander-in-chief, the woman you go to when you not only want to get something accomplished, but you want somebody to back you. Like they have your back no matter what. She is a deeply emotional person, but she can't show it. So she's constantly taking in energy from all sorts of people around her. She's being very selective about who's giving her advice, but she ultimately trusts her intuition the most. So she probably came from good people. Maybe like there's definitely a caregiver in her. This is a really stable boss personality. She's got a good caregiver in her corner. She's got warriors in her corner that will go and do the heavy lifting if needed. But this is the woman who's going to make things happen.
She got her own money.
She does. And that's very important to her. Being that kind of independent, she's not greedy about it. She's willing to share the wealth of her experience for the benefit of her tribe. I think of her ultimately as the queen. So on the outside, the queen has to be everybody's fantasy of what a woman is, right? But on the inside, all she does is think about what's best for the whole population. Like it's her job to put aside everything she wants or thinks she wants. Like that's in the back burner. That's for later because her main job is to take care of her people. Very strong, very heartfelt. But of course, her cons can be, well, what about me? If you don't have a good tribe to back you and you're a boss, then you're going to deal with emotional fatigue. You're going to deal with paranoia. Like you can get going on such an ego trip as a boss bitch that you sort of crush everybody else in your wake, female and male alike. That's a tricky business. Plus, you have a very, very hard time maintaining a good relationship with a man. Like, have you ever been with a boss?
Yeah.
Yeah? How was that? How was your experience of that?
My experience with a boss?
Yeah.
I feel like she was a boss everywhere else but with me.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, so she knew. She knew she needed to have that balance.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like when I saw her like talking to other people.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this person?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's like a whole like different person.
Like, you know, when she was like doing her job out in the open. Yeah.
She was on it.
On it. But
Yes.
but the thing about bosses is like they're quick to leave you if you mess up. You know what I'm saying? They don't give a lot of second chances.
Understood. I think this is somewhat related, but in the construction of SpaceX with Elon Musk, I think it was when he transitioned Twitter to X. he got rid of a whole bunch of people
Yeah.
simply because he said, like, if you're not willing to put in 14, 18-hour days, you don't belong here. Like, that kind of boss mentality burns a lot of bridges, but you do get a lot done. Like, if you got that mission and you're that focused on there, it's like, I don't have time to play somebody's favorite.
Uh-huh.
We'll get into that later, what happened to her. Because I want to know. Or
Wait-
not.
wait a
maybe
second.
Later. Wait a second.
No, we can get into it later. But now,
Okay.
now I'm thinking about it. Actually,
Isn't it eye-opening just to go through like all these like, oh, now that I can look back. Like, if you were in a relationship right now, you might not have time while you're dating this person to learn all of the different traits of their personality. Especially if you've never thought about it that way. And there's lots of personality tests out there. I mean, we could get into the Harry Potter personality test and, you know, like, are you Team Gryffindor or Ravenclaw or whatever. But it is a very playful way in which you can get to know somebody else. So when they do something that you think is offensive, you won't take it personally. That is almost like a golden ticket to having a good relationship, no matter if you end up getting married or if you end up being friends, is the fact that you don't have to take something personally just because somebody's a different personality. Oh, yeah. As far as pop cultures, I would say really cool examples of being a boss, Beyonce and Lady Gaga.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say.
There's all, yeah. She's like my favorite queen. The Beyonce can do no wrong. Like, literally, she could probably do a lot of wrong things. I would just be like, I don't care. She's Beyonce.
Rihanna is better.
Is she? Okay. Explain.
better voice,
Okay.
better music.
Oh, boy, those are fighting words.
Wait, what?
All right. The
Better
fighting words,
actor.
man.
Better actor.
I've never
Actress.
seen...
Actor.
I've never
because
seen
actor
Beyonce.
can be male.
Sure.
Huh?
I don't think I've ever seen Beyonce act.
Yeah, so better actor.
I mean, her music videos, I grew up on those. Diva?
Beyonce's
Better
better.
dancer. We give her that. You know what I'm saying? And Beyonce was better looking in her prime.
I'm not going to bring up Rihanna at the Super Bowl, okay? Because, like...
We good.
Yeah.
They're both great.
They're both great. And I know she was
Rihanna.
pregnant, okay? I know she was pregnant.
Yeah.
But at some point, I was just like, is that Rihanna? What's happening? Like, as soon as she transitioned into the makeup business, I didn't hear much for the music. Anyway,
And Rihanna's
she
great.
is. She is a boss. Yeah, okay. Next up, the maiden.
The maiden?
The maiden. What do you think that means?
The maid?
Sort of, yes. It's connected to that. It is connected to that. So what does a maid do?
Clean up, you know?
Yep.
Clean up, you know, just cook,
Yep,
take care and stuff.
sure. She exists to sort of be subservient.
Yeah, servant.
Mm-hmm. And likes it, and really, really likes it. So in maiden concepts, this is the innocent. This is the one who is open and expressive and will pretty much talk to anybody, but they have a certain amount of naivete surrounding their whole aura. So maybe not the best person to... when you think of them, and I'll give you an example in a minute, you don't think, oh, she's a sex kitten, or she's a boss, or she's a wise woman. You don't think about this. You think sweet and innocent and, oh, what a pleasant thing to be around, but you don't take them seriously. Mm-hmm. Simply because they're like little balls of fluff. Not that that's a bad thing, but...
Easy to manipulate.
Yes. At least to a point. There comes with everybody's personality moments when life teaches you what you need to know to transition to the next stage. And those are like the 5 stages of life. We're not going to cover them right now. We'll get into them in a different episode. So the maiden, to me, at least every time I've heard about her, is Taylor Swift. She's sweet. She's innocent. Everything I've seen her in, everything I've seen her do seems to be like a person of goodness and light. You never think about them saying a mean thing. You never think about them backstabbing someone or cheating. Like, this is the person who would not cheat. Because when they say they love you, they really, really love you. Even to the point where it could be very detrimental to them. In many ways, in other cultural terms, we would call that a bottom bitch.
Loyal. That seems like my kind of person.
Yes. Sure. And once they get over their innocence, like once they grow past that and they see more of the world, then they do become that more loyal, grounded type. Where they're still going to be loving and they're still going to be kind and generous, but they're no longer allowing themselves to be manipulated. Yeah. At least not to that point. Some traits, they stay with you forever. And if you're surrounded with good people, they watch your back. So, speaking of watching your back in all things, the next one, she's not my favorite. Seductress is my favorite, but this one, ooh, that's hard. I don't know if I have a favorite. Okay, the wise woman. Different than a caregiver, because the wise woman is a deep thinker, a philosopher. She has been there, done that. She can listen to a person vent for an hour straight and not say anything, not offer any judgment. But at the end of when that person's finished, she could look them in the eyes and says, okay, you're finished now. Now you're going to go do this. Like a good coach sometimes is a wise person. Mm-hmm. They have boiled down the essence of all of the knowledge, and they really, really want to pass that on. Okay, great example, at least in my personal life, of a wise woman. Her name is Bev. She used to be a nurse for 30, 40 years, at least in her 80s, and she has such powerful, potent, loving energy that just being around her, I feel smarter. I could ask her almost anything about life, and I would think, like, you're a really good mentor to me. You don't ever judge me. You don't make me feel less than. You don't try and force your opinion like, oh, well, this is what you should do because it's in your best interest. It's not a projection of what she thinks is right. It's actual common sense. And common sense comes with time and a lot of different experiences, which is why I think wise women, they have to go through quite a bit of upheaval and heartache and trauma to gain all of the messages that pain has to give us. So oddly enough, I think Oprah is my key wise woman. Maya Angelou, Michelle Obama, she's getting there. I don't know if she's there yet. She's more of a boss lady right now, but she's got, I don't know enough about her. I did read Becoming, but I don't get a good sense of her personality enough to mix personalities. For one, we're just doing that for fun anyway, just to give examples. None of this is supposed to be like, oh, it's this way.
Yeah, set in stone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people are mixed with different ones and stuff. Yeah, nobody's like fully just 100% one.
And it's fun. Like once you know this stuff, you can go to the females in your life and just be like, oh, I see that little.
Yeah.
Oh.
25% this, 40%, you know?
Yeah. Especially if that's somebody that you've been in a relationship with, you might start to understand, oh, they're neglecting this part of their personality. Yeah. And it would actually make them happier. And you can like mention that to them and have like a real conversation as a friend. Last but not least, the artist.
All right. Ooh.
Do you remember which male archetype this is? Because I sort of do and I sort of don't. If I was a man, I would kind of be this and like an omega or something.
The artist of male archetype? I don't know.
I think it's the Zeta.
Oh, yeah.
I think. Like the inventor.
Yeah, it's a Zeta.
That loves being the lone wolf, loves spending, I don't know, 3 days locked in a room writing something. Yeah. Because they're that passionate about it, because nothing else matters as much, at least in that moment, as this idea that they're creating in their head. That dream is very, very real to them. So an artist, if they have a particular love, and this is musician, this is paintings, this is sculpture, this is architecture, this is, I would even say like Jeff Bezos is a bit of an artist. If I had to like name a dude, something, because he strikes me as, at his core, he's an inventor. He takes something and he he stops at nothing to create it into the vision in which he believes it can go. But he's very flexible in a lot of the stuff. He has a huge team to do that with.
Mm-hmm.
For female artists, going back to this, they are playful, they're intense, they can be reckless, they are always constantly pushing toward experience. They're somebody who might get into polyamory, who might want to be a swinger, who might try recreational drugs just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
They're risk takers at their heart because they deeply believe that a boundary exists to be crossed in many ways, or at least so they can figure out what their real limitation is. Tricky to be with an artist. Very tricky to be with an artist. In an artist's mind, if they're working on a project and they have a man in the picture, they love that person. They love that man. But they cannot stop what they're doing on a frequent basis to say to them specifically, oh, I love you. You're so great. Let me give you all this attention. If they're working on their project, they are working on their project. So if you're a man with a female artist, you're not going to get a lot of attention the way you normally would expect from a normal relationship. But when they love you, you know that they love you. And they're sort of extraordinary in the ways that they can show it. Like instead of saying, oh, baby, I love you, and kissing you every morning, they might show up with a sonnet. They might give you, a giant painting of yourself. Like they have different ways of expressing their love. Mm-hmm. But it's very tricky to be with an artist. If you're fine not being like the top dog and they're not validating you and glorifying you in every turn, you'll be fine with an artist, especially if you're more of a free spirit too. I will say, I do think that artists need a partner that is more grounding to them, who is more of an opposite to them. As far as opposites attracting, they need the opposite more than anything, because they really are free spirits. They really don't have a clue sometimes on what's pushing it too far. They'll end up getting into a bad situation and then just being like, whoops. Well, lesson learned there, but man, do I have a great story. Anyway. Okay, so that is our 7 archetypes. We're going to wrap this episode up. Thanks for hanging out as long as you did. I hope you learned a lot. If you have questions, if you have comments, please put them in the show notes. Please put them on our YouTube. We love, love, love interacting because this is a conversation, and we can't learn more and serve you better unless we have that interaction.
I love the passion. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and like we said before, you can be a mixture of many of these. So, just take a moment and think, like, what am I? What do I do more of? The people around you, what are they? Because everybody's a mixture of something, So take a moment and think about that and see how best you can improve yourself in certain areas when it comes to these archetypes.
Mm-hmm. Stay tuned and be safe. We love you.
And stay off the dating apps.